Please take your seats as the show is about to begin.
Beginners to the stage.
Okay, we have clearance.
Stand by curtains.
Quiet, please.
Stand by Q1.
Break a leg, everyone.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chorley Theatre.
I've been living in the city for about 3 weeks now. I started my amazing new job in marketing and I've moved into my swanky new apartment. So basically everything is perfect. But I'm a bit worried about my parents. I mean, I'm an only child and they were devastated when I left. So I've been trying to keep in touch with them as much as I can, you know, ringing the house phone and mobiles, leaving voicemails. I've even tried Skype calls, but no answer. I keep picturing my mum sitting on the end of my bed in my old room, holding onto my tatty teddy and weeping. I'm really worried about them. I think they're really struggling. So anyway, I get through to Mum on Skype and you will never believe what happened. I mean, she answers the phone and she's all dishevelled and out of breath. And there's Dad in the background, butt naked. I mean, he's trying to sneak past as if I can't see him. It's the middle of the day, in the kitchen. I mean, maybe he spilt something, sure, but... Anyway, I stifle a scream and I ask Mum how she's doing, how she's coping without me. If she's doing that thing that parents do where they close the door of their child's bedroom so that they can just pretend that they're still there. Anyway, she's totally distracted. She's filling up her sparkly water bottle that I've literally never seen before. And on the side of it, it says, "Life begins at 50. Anyway, she explains to me she's getting ready for her yoga class. Yoga. My mother. I mean, she's never had any daft hobbies before now. She was always too busy taking me to cheerleading or swimming lessons or gymnastics classes. She's obviously trying to fill the time to distract herself from the fact that I'm not there. And then she tells me that her and Dad are going out for dinner to the Hamiltons. I mean, I've always said I wanted to go there, but it's too expensive according to them. Well, so now they're squandering their money. I mean, I'm really worried about them. I think they're really, really struggling. So I start telling Mum about my new life and I'm sure that she was just dying to hear all about my amazing new job in marketing and my fabulous new apartment. Well, it's kind of more like a bed sit, but it's got everything that I need for now. I mean, I can get the rest of the furniture and plates and stuff when I know how much money I've got to spend. Gosh, it's so expensive to live here. I mean, there really is no sort of extra cash for going out and stuff, but I mean, I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm really loving it. My boss is really nice. I mean, I work from home, but I've Skype called with her a few times and the rest of the team, and they're all really supportive. And they keep inviting me to things. I mean, well, it's kind of a group invitation, but I'm part of that, I think. Probably. Anyway, so once I've worked out my finances and plucked the courage to be able to go out at night in the city, then maybe I can start socialising and networking. You know, it's so crazy here. You've got to kind of like learn a new language. You've got to say things like, let's touch base, and we need blue sky thinking here, guys. Whatever that means. So, anyway, I get the feeling that my mum's not listening. She's pulling on these hideously patterned yoga pants, and she's not making any supportive comments about how amazing my life is or how wonderful I am or how proud of me she is. And well, I'm sure that this is just because she can't admit that I've actually gone, that I'm actually living my best life and fulfilling all of my dreams and managing without her and Dad. Yeah, they're really struggling. It's very sad. But I have a bit of a wobble. I mean, don't get me wrong, I miss them. And I miss my cat. And I wish I could bring her here, but she can't come and live in this box. And I miss my friends, and I miss the gym, and I miss the pub. And I tell her that I'm going to come home for a long weekend to cheer her and Dad up. But get this. They have turned my old bedroom into a home gym. Not only that, but she has taken all of my cheerleading outfits and groovy chick collectibles to the charity shop. I mean, I'm horrified, and I tell her so and even start to cry, which usually reduces her to tears. She doesn't want to see me cry. She hates to see me cry. She would do anything to put a smile on my face. I am her everything. Aren't I? She doesn't even notice. She's too busy finding her flow before her yoga class. All I can see is the soles of her feet. It's really sad. You know, I'm really sad for them. They're really struggling. Really, really struggling.
Right, so I think I'm going to lose my job. Now, I didn't do anything proper bad like. Don't start assuming. It's not as if I've been nicking money from the tills or being an arsehole to customers. You know, I'm not like some of the folk that knock about this place. I'm such an idiot. I broke my shoe, yeah. I broke it. The sole was coming off, and I thought, I can't be walking around like this. I could trip. Imagine if I fell into a customer and hurt them. Where there's a blame, there's a claim, as they say. We don't want any lawsuits around here. So anyway, I decided to fix the shoe, yeah. It makes sense. So just before my break, I closed my till and I asked Shirley if we had any super glue. Now, I don't know where she got it from, but she found me some. To be fair, it wouldn't surprise me if she got it out of her own pocket. We all know what Shirley's like. Oh my gosh. You saw her after last year's staff party, didn't you? Wild Shirley. Ugh. Right, so anyway, I'm sat at my till, gluing my shoe. Everything's going fine. And at this point, I'm feeling like a DIY genius. Oh my gosh, I'll be on DIY SOS within the month. I'll have my own show. We'll do house renovations. Move over grand designs. I wish I could say I was joking. I felt like an absolute king. So I complete the job. The shoe's fine. I'm over the moon. I go to put the lid back on the super glue and I press the tube. Oh, it went everywhere. And I mean everywhere. The floor, the chair, my hands. And I tried to clean it up, but I just ended up spreading it all over the place. And at this point, I'm getting rather stressed because it's really quite a mess. So I run to grab some nail polish remover because I hear that's good for super glue. But when I get back, Stephen sat on my chair serving a customer. He was so stuck. No escape. Couldn't budge. You should have seen him. It was like slapstick or something. The more he tried to get out of it, the more glue got on him, and it didn't help. It made the whole thing a lot worse for himself. I can't imagine what it must have been like for him. Mate, imagine you're stuck with a really strong adhesive, all while having an old lady shout at you because you're not bagging a salad. Tried to calm her down, crack a joke like, Well, Steve was getting rather stressed and so was she. So I turned around and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Mom. It appears my colleague has got himself in a bit of a sticky situation. Right, well I thought it was funny anyway. But all she did was tell me to F off and sort him out. Then I have to go to Linda. God, I hate Linda. She's such a foul cow. But at this point, I've no choice. Either Steve gets new trousers or he's stuck at a checkout for the rest of his life, doomed to serve customers for all eternity. Well, she wasn't too happy about it, I'll tell you that. She called me an embarrassment. A few other names I won't really repeat. But she found me some trousers. So I'll go back to Steve, and I'm like, Steve, mate, pants. You'll have to wriggle out of those and put these on. But he's like, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? And he's like, I seriously can't, James. Well, it's a bit of back and forth till it finally clicks. He isn't wearing any bloody underwear. Well, I didn't really fancy seeing Steve's crown jewels. So I go back to Linda and I ask her, do we have any underwear? Got a disciplinary meeting next week.
I remember the night I decided to leave him. I told myself I wasn't going to say anything. It would be too difficult. How could I explain? The plan was just to pack quietly and leave while he was asleep. He would miss me for a while, but he would find someone better, someone who deserved him. Eventually it wouldn't hurt anymore. I was almost at the door, almost gone, when something stopped me. I couldn't do it. Not to him. Not like that. So I went back upstairs and I watched him sleeping. He was so peaceful, so blissfully unaware that anything was wrong. I remember looking at him and thinking, why can't I just be happy like that? I wasn't. I hadn't been for a long time. The more I tried to hide it, the more miserable I'd become. I wanted desperately to love him, like I knew he loved me. I felt so broken. I mean, what was wrong with me? We had this beautiful thing. Why couldn't I just be happy? I couldn't even talk to my friends about it. They were always telling me how lucky I was, how he was so perfect, how they wanted what we had. I felt so guilty that I just didn't. Of course, they were right. He was perfect. He never did anything wrong. All he had ever done was love me. Which is why I couldn't leave him like that, without goodbye. I had to try to explain. He wouldn't understand, but I had to try. So I woke him up and I just started talking. He had no idea what was going on. One moment he was asleep and the next I was stood over him, gushing my heart out. I tried to make sense, but it all just tumbled out. How I'd been feeling that I'd decided to leave, that he would be okay without me, that he would find someone who could love him as much as he would love them. I could tell I wasn't making any sense. So then I told him about the crash. The crash has happened a few days before. I was on the bypass and must have lost focus. Drifted into the oncoming lane. I only saw the car at the last minute, but I managed to swerve into a hedge out the way. The car was fine and I wasn't hurt, but it had been close. So close. I remember sitting there in shock. I had this image of my mangled body in my wrecked car, drawing my last breath. In movies, that's the point where people say, "Tell my wife I love her." But those weren't the words I imagined. They weren't even close. The words I thought of were, "Tell him. Tell him he stole my freedom. Tell him I spent the last year of my life being unhappy with him." I was horrified. I don't know where it came from. It was the wake-up call I needed to realise that I'd become so bitter and resentful. I knew that things couldn't carry on the way they were. I finished telling him this, and I just stood there, waiting for him to do something. He cried, of course. I felt bad that I'd upset him, but relieved at the same time. Like this weight had just been lifted off my shoulders. I held him, and he held me back so tightly. He still loved me, even after everything that I said. I realised as I held him, as I comforted him, I still loved him too. I think that by letting out all those guilty thoughts, I'd left room for the love to flow back in. I could feel it trickling in, and over time, that trickle became a flood, and now I can't ever imagine feeling like that again. Of course, he doesn't remember it. He was only 10 months at the time. It went straight over his little head. He's 5 now. Things are better than ever. It's not easy doing it on your own, but it gets easier. He'll never know what he taught me that night, just by loving me back. He helped me to see that I didn't have to be happy all the time. I just had to be there. And that was enough. I was enough.